Morning folks. Right, let me just first of all get my head together. What a weekend that was. Crazy. I mean, in a good way, but yeah, it was nuts. Really wasn't expecting that kind of weather. Fantastic, I'm not going to complain. Perfect for a bank holiday. It's still pretty nice now. We are due some showers later on, which, to be honest, you know, everything's super dry, so a little bit of tacking up wouldn't go amiss, to be honest with you. So the other things about the week, I can feel myself rambling because I am in a bit of a state of confusion. There's a lot went on, and right now it's Wednesday, and I'm finding that a little bit hard to get my head around. Anyway, it is what it is. It's Wednesday morning, so yeah, apart from the weather, that was great. A lot of people here, fantastic. One of the big things out of that was I really kind of feel like people are starting to understand the idea of sessioning, and people are really starting to grasp onto it. I made a video last week about my own personal thoughts on sessioning, and people have really taken that and ran with it. Now, the outcome of that is I was getting, over the 4 days that I was open, I was getting a lot of people come back to me, not necessarily saying, oh, because you said sessioning was great, that's what we've been doing. More along the lines of their own kind of personal stories about sessioning and what they'd experienced during that day. And you know, the benefits are there. They're hitting stuff that they weren't expecting to hit. They're hitting stuff that they'd never hit before, and in some cases they were just finding sections of the track of various different tracks that had perhaps been a little bit challenging before, and now they were really kind of nailing it through there. Just all sorts of success stories, really good. There was a couple of things went on at the weekend. Let's get into that. Those of you that know me will know that downtime's pretty scarce. I don't watch TV, not because I don't like TV. I live with 3 women, and they tend to take that over. So my kind of downtime is I like to. There's a few YouTube channels that I subscribe to, and thinking about it over the past fortnight, it's actually turned out that a good 50% of them are BMX channels. I grew up riding BMX. That in 1982, got my first BMX and was hooked from there on in, and that kind of transitioned through into mountain bikes. But I've still got that kind of affinity and that love for BMX and the BMX world, and I'm still really impressed by some of the riding that's out there. I mean, it's like mind-blowing. So that's kind of what I like to do. Huge fan of Scotty Kramer, obviously. I'm into Spencer Forsman, Trey Jones, Jay Dalton, all of these channels. If you've not thought of them before, have a little look around. They're some really cool stuff. But I also follow like the Mike Hooker. Anyway, I could go on and on. What I've been doing over the past kind of fortnight or so is I've been a bit, over the past 20 years or 25 years, I've lost my tricks, and it's a bit weird because I learned them when I was younger, and you kind of somehow figure that that's it. You've learned how to do this, and that's it forevermore. A bit like riding a bike, you know. You learn how to do it, and then you'll always know how to do it. I've mentioned before, but I had a period of a few years where I moved to Manchester. I kind of didn't get really riding bikes when I was in the city. There's a whole like city life going on, and somehow I've come out the other side of that, and I've lost my tricks. Now, it didn't matter too much. I still jumped the bike and everything. That's cool, but it's crept in over the past couple of weeks. I've just been a bit bummed that I can't do what I used to be able to do. So I've been having a look at these YouTube channels, checking things out, and to be honest, rather than go to mountain bikers for what's the best way to relearn tricks, I've gone to BMXers. Now, the biggest thing that came from that was a lot of people talked about learning stuff flyout. Now, for those of you that don't get what the hell I'm like thinking, what are you on about, Ben? Flyout? Well, in a bike park, a BMX park, skate park sort of thing, concrete park or wooden, could be, you know, Woodward or one of the many concrete parks around. There's often a section where you've got quite a steep transition and it doesn't kick you very far. It's not like for distance, which a lot of mountain biking is about. This is more, it'll kick you up and then land you down kind of flat. Sometimes they go to another transition, but a lot of the time flyout is up and then just kind of to flat. Now, one of the reasons that they all talk about learning, the importance of using a flyout to learn tricks, is because it'll boost you up and it'll get you height rather than distance, and the height is what you're looking for, because essentially you're wanting the bike to come up and have that momentary, it's not weightlessness, but a moment where the bike goes very, very light underneath you because you've just kind of reached that arc of your jump. And there's just for a split second, the bike goes super light and it's really easy to maneuver around. And then you can do your trick, get hands, feet, whatever back on, and then land again. Now, for a couple of minutes after reading up about all of this and watching all this stuff and being like, I had a bit of a teenage moment and like, well, I don't have a flyout and we don't have skate parks around near me. And then obviously suddenly it dawned on me, well, dude, if you haven't got flyout, just build one. So, part of the Easter project was to build myself a flyout ramp, because I want to, you know, I want to learn to get my tricks back, and I want to be able to do it myself. So, from my old school days of riding, this is pretty much the perfect flyout transition. I don't know if this is going to show on GoPro or show you the shape of the transition, but from my days of riding and riding those kind of things, this is exactly the sort of shape of transition that I would have wanted to hit. To keep the transition always the same, this is one of the reasons for building it out of wood and not building it out of dirt, because a dirt transition will change as you impact it unless you're just constantly on top of it. It's pretty much a straight up, as you would imagine, build. But now, well, I have a flyout ramp. Well, I set off on the idea of, I've got 4 days at work here. I'm gonna set to and build this. I'm stuck at the cabin. I'm gonna build it. Now, when I decided I was gonna do this and I was gonna set off on what I called the Easter project, I got like, only just started it and then got a little bit giddy and uploaded a photograph to Instagram. What happened after that was a little bit surprising. It was a little bit surprising because 2-3 weeks ago I had decided that I didn't want, I'm gonna, well, we'll talk about this in a bit, but I'm gonna put in a little bit of just a hit line, a practice line around this area. But what I was thinking a couple of weeks ago is, on YouTube, I also follow people like Twitch, Travis Pastrana and stuff like that, and the Moto Boys, for practicing their tricks, they always use like a big, it's a specially fabricated metal moto kicker. So this is kind of how the story went. I put the photos up on Instagram saying I'm building this is my Easter project. I didn't exactly explain why, like I am now, but I got a message first, and then a phone call. I think it was a visit as well. And the next thing you know, I've got a guy telling me, right, well, I have a friend who's into motocross, excuse me, but he's coming out of it because he wants to get into mountain biking. He's got a kicker that he's not using anymore and he's not gonna use, and he'd like to donate it to you. You know, fucking mind blown, wasn't expecting that to happen. So next thing you know, he turns up with a truck and a trailer, and I don't know, it's like I can't even really talk about this properly now because it's just unexpected. Yeah, so next thing you know, I've got a delivery of a metal motor kicker. I mean, this thing is an absolute beast. It needs a little bit of TLC. It's structurally sound. It could do with a coat of hammerite and kind of get sorted that way. But man, it's big. Oh, we're actually up in the trees. Man, it's big. It's a big kicker. I just don't know if this is going to show up on GoPro at all. But it's tall. Oh, I know, it's tall. Let me get you around the other side. I can show you where it comes up to me. I'm, what the hell am I? 5'11"-ish. But it's shoulder height on me. It's a pretty big kick. So yeah. And now I'm in a situation where I was like, I want to bring my tricks back and I want to learn my tricks again. And then I decided, right, I know I can feel myself rambling on this video, and I'm so sorry, but it's a weird situation. I was like, I want to put in a 2-hit line, just one close to the car park, and it is actually going to run just down the back of here. One close to the car park that is really easy for everybody, well, myself mainly. It's a bit selfish, but you guys can use it too, to come out and practice these hits on. Just a couple of hits, just to be repeated over again. I don't know if this is going to show, but literally the cabin is just down there. We're just up in, you can see this back of the sign, and kind of that means about midway in the car park. So yeah, I wanted to put those 2 hits in and start to teach myself some stuff again, as I was talking about in the sessioning videos. My goal over the summer is to teach myself a new trick. That's my own personal goal. That's what I'd like to do. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, well, alright Ben, you're talking about personal goals. How do we as the riders come into this? So what I want to do is get these 2 ramps set up into a 2-hit line, and I'd like to make a video series on this same YouTube channel, and I'm going to call it Old Dog New Tricks, because frankly I'm 43, I'm way too old to be doing this, but hey, the name kind of fits. Now what I'm going to do is I want to document my sessions on coming in and hitting these, and how I go about either relearning or to be honest, teaching myself. What I prefer to do is teach myself brand new tricks that I've never done before. Now the goal is just to get one. Let's see how we get on from there. But the way that I want to do this is I know I'm gonna fall at the end of the day. If you get into something like this, then you know it's gonna go wrong at some point. Touch wood, it doesn't go too horribly wrong. That's what helmets and body armour are for. But I'm aware of that in the outset, and I want to show not just the successes in that video series, but you know, where it went wrong and what I did to change where it went wrong to make it go right. Now hopefully some of you guys might find that beneficial, and the big thing it'll be is, instead of, it's not my stomach rumbling. Right, sorry about that. That was an important phone call I couldn't miss. It was about another project that's it's so new and early stages that I can't really talk about it yet. Oh, I will in time. Anyway, where were we? So, going to build a 2-hit line, a flyout and a motor kicker. Going to make some videos on that, Old Dog New Tricks. The whole idea on this is that I will go through them and do like in-depth of my experience with them, and then this line will be open to you guys should you want to come and try them too. Now if my videos help in any way, then absolute massive bonus, you know. I'm not going to be encouraging you to hit this line, because frankly it's, you know, it's not that easy, and well, I don't know, I'm going to make it as easy as possible, but it's not something I'm going to be encouraging you to do. it will have consequences should you mess it up. Just, you know, the whole of mountain biking has that. But yeah, how do I put this? It's going to be about my experience, and should you so choose to come and replicate that and try it for yourself, then it will be here and available. Now, the important thing about that is a flyout kicker to a metal moto kicker. Instead of watching like people's YouTube videos of tutorials on how to do these tricks in America and Canada, or at places where they're just not accessible to you to go and use the same ramps, I'll be doing the videos on these ramps that you too can then come and try for yourself on the exact same ramps. So yeah, that's one project going on. The other project that I want to get into is for a track called Beggars Canyon. Now, you might have heard me speak about this track before. It's been in the works for a few months now, and to be 100% honest, I thought that I'd drawn this track out and that I was pretty much dead set on what I was doing about it. Over the past few weeks, those ideas have changed, and now I feel like I want it to run a little bit differently from what I originally thought. So, not hugely differently. I mean, for example, it's going to be, again, it's GoPro so it doesn't show up, but there's a slope here roughly up to where that kind of half raised tree stump is that's snapped off at the top. From about there, maybe about 5-10 feet above it, there's a nice slope down here that'll make for a nice landing slope, and that'd still get us down into this original corridor that I've spoken about before. I'll take you for a walk down through it. So I do want this to be the same kind of feel as I had originally envisaged, but I'm thinking that I'm going to change out some of the features or change out some of the ideas of features, and change out just some of the layout of it a little bit when I get into this build. So let's get you a bit further down and into a part that is actually staying. I'm walking down where I've got the plan of the track to go right now. Kind of you can see that it bends down and through here. So I still want this kind of general layout, but what it'll do is bring you into this area. If I can just spin you around, I'll take you down into here, which is where I've got a log layup started. The first thing I do in all of my builds is lay it up with logs first. So this gap jump here, this is still going to stay. I like the idea of this and I like its positioning. It is going to be quite a sizable gap. You're looking at down onto the pad here, landing pad, you're looking at about 19 foot. It's nothing, shouldn't be anything new. I mean, we have got that 19 footer over on the log raft on Route Down Raceway. This is just going to be a bit of a kind of more exaggerated version of it. What I really need to consider with this one is what I do about the kind of rest of the track. I have a pretty good idea of what's going on up there, but as we kind of cut through down this way, months and months ago I put these orange dots on the trees. You might only be able to see so far through them, but this was the idea of where the track would go through, and I need to start, as I'm about to build on this, I am going to start building at the top and work it down to the bottom, but I've got to keep in mind a way of flow. A lot of times I've built tracks that started at the bottom and worked their way up. It just so happens that I'm doing it the other way around this time. I need to keep the idea of how the track's going to run through and what I'm going to do about features and what types of features I'm going to put in. So part of this today is exploring through this just to get the mind ticking a little bit. Well, I'm glad I took the time to take a walk down there. That was really useful. I've come up with a couple of changes that I want to make. The first one being on the first hit, I want it to be like a step down, a little bit like the one that gets to the chopper. Hopefully it'll kind of be about, landing prime spot will be about 15 foot out and about 6 foot down. With the slope of that might end up being a little bit more than 6 foot. But the other hit the one a little bit further down the track, this is going to be after the log layup that you saw for the gap jump. I want to bring in and bench cut a piece out and kick back against the gradient of the park into like a step up, which will be a raised landing area. But if you want, you can come up and come round and hip it and land it in kind of this X position here, which would be a left hand side hip. It's a time where a lot of decisions have got to be made. Make a lot of notes as well, just to kind of keep myself right. I do want to do the Beggars Canyon track, and I kind of want to get started on that as soon as possible. At the same time, I'm stood in here in this area. The metal ramps just in the background over there. I do also want to put this 2-hit line in as well. Obviously there's only one of me, I can't do them both at the same time, but there is a little bit of wiggle room with this 2-hit practice area. We're not very far away from the cabin. I don't know if that's going to show up at all, but down in the background there is just where the cabin is, and again, you know, that's the car park road just over there. So that is something that I can do on a weekend and figure out this sort of area and this line and this track down here, how I'm gonna fit that in, which does mean that, you know, during the week then I should be able to get on with Beggars Canyon. So just kind of need to figure out how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to fit these in. The one saving grace that I do have with this line with the 2 hits on is I can just kind of, I think I can just kind of set to and start building landings in roughly the areas that I want to be putting down. And the good news is at least these 2 kickers are both movable, so I can start them fairly close, and if the kickers need to be a little bit further back, then just drag them back a little bit until I find that perfect point. So yeah, it's rather than being committed to log layups where that's where you've put them, you've put the dirt on them, that's where they are now. These 2 do offer us that wiggle room of being able to move them. Anyway, I've got a lot to do. I've probably given way too much information and told too much stuff in this video for you to kind of take in all at once, but I just wanted to keep you up to date with what's going on and what I'm doing. And yeah, it's exciting times ahead. I can't wait to hit both these tracks. Can't wait to start building both these tracks. So that's next on the agenda. Just got to do a little bit of figuring out, decide what order I'm going to do things in, and get cracking and get doing them. Anyway, that'll do for me for now. I've got to get back to enough planning for the future. I've got to get back to normal park life now. Catch up with you guys at the weekend. See you in a bit.